Hey, Tiger fans, and welcome to the Tiger Basketball Report. I'm your host, Ben Rosenbaum. Towson women's basketball opening up their season in style with a victory over Longwood here inside CQ Arena. And as always, I'm joined by the head coach of the Tigers, Laura Harper. And Coach, welcome back, and congratulations. Win one in the books.
Yes, thank you for having me. We are 1-0, so I'm excited to be in this point, and next game this upcoming Saturday.
Before we talk about Longwood, you've obviously coached before, you've been a head coach before, but when you come to a new school and you have that first game and you don't have any record yet, is getting that first win, is that a little like, at one point did you, okay, we got one?
I think it wasn't until the buzzer sounded that I was like, okay, we did this. But yes, I think getting that initial, not only for myself, for our staff, but most importantly for our players, is like, okay, we're doing this. So yes, I feel a lot more calm now.
So the game, 83-72, a little close there at the very beginning, and then you and your team just took off running, didn't look back. Got to talk about her, Kylie Cornegay-Lucas, CAA Player of the Week. I mean, it was video game numbers like 29 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, 5 blocks, 3 steals. Literally, mention any part of basketball, she impacted the game in that way.
I've told my parents, I've told my circle that Kylie is a generational player. She's capable of leading our team in every single statistical category that we have. And it's almost like it's effortless for her. When she's on the court, she's just at the park having a good time. So
does she have, like, when you see someone who can affect the game in so many ways, as a coach, how do you coach that? Like, when do you tell her, okay, now it's time for you, we need you to shoot, we need you to facilitate, how do you does she just kind of have, yes, go, play basketball?
I like to think that I do most of my critiquing in practice, so that in the games, Kylie's just going when Kylie's going until I say slow down and we need to execute in a certain way, or I call a timeout. But she's the kind of player that can't really have handcuffs, because then she's going to overthink, she's going to make mistakes, and I think we have enough trust in each other that we're going to go how she goes.
And I mean, of course, Kylie, an outstanding performance, CAA Player of the Week, but it wasn't just Kylie that night. I mean, if you have Kylie's performance, you still come away with a pretty impressive win. Quinn Fulmore, Peanut Rivera, each with double doubles. India Johnston in her debut in double digits. Starting with Quinn, this is a big leap for her in terms of what is being asked of her from last year. How did you assess that performance? And I mean, she came out and it looked like she had been playing for 2 years at that point.
100%. And this is why you have exhibition games, because I think the initial exhibition, she was getting the cobwebs off, and Quinn is capable of a double-double every single night. So I'm excited, but it's not over me that this is her first time really getting her feet wet. So we celebrate everything with her, and, similarly with Peanut, double-doubles are hard to come by. So for us to have 2 in one game, I thought it was outstanding.
Looking at your freshman, India, with those 13 points, she started out hot, hitting 2 quick threes. Monmouth. Longwood decided to maybe start covering her in the corner at one point. You said something in the press conference that kind of, I didn't even think about it. You compared her to Christy Tolliver, who you played with, obviously. Is how much of Tolliver do you see in India, and what is the potential for India as a player?
Of course, I think when initially we were re-recruiting her to convince her to stay at Towson, that was the first thing that I thought about. Freshman year, Christy Tolliver took us to a championship. She was fearless. She didn't know what she didn't know. And I think that's the cool thing about freshmen is, India has so much to learn, so much to grow, but she's fearless. And that alone is what just reminds me so much of my very dear friend and great teammate in Christy.
And last thing, with the Longwood game, you said it to me day one when you got here. We're going to rebound the basketball. You rebounded the basketball that night, 45-28. Also points in the paint. You doubled their production, 44-22. You've got, as a post player yourself, you have to be excited about the way your team played down low.
We have 3 things that we're trying to be great at, and that's points in transition, points in the paint, and our half-court defense. So, and when we say half-court defense, that means rebounding. I think that we're getting there. We're trying to secure that up, but we want to play fast. We want to score inside, and this team knows that.
All right, so Longwood in the books. We are off to Loretto, Pennsylvania. St. Francis, they are 0-3. A lot of tough losses for them early on. Robert Morris, Michigan, and Xavier. They're lopsided losses. As a coach, when you're getting ready to play a team and they've had these games where they're playing opponents at, Michigan, Xavier are higher level than them, is it hard to get a good feel for what they want to do when you watch the film? Because sometimes it's just hard to see what they want to do because the other team's not allowing them to do it.
Of course. It's always challenging, especially when you play just different kind of opponents. Luckily, we played St. Francis last year, so I have a little bit of a feel for them. And I think for us, it's just the consistency of how we want to play, regardless of the opponent. Even when I present a scout on game day, it's us and them. So we really focus on what we're trying to do and just make sure we're prepared for anything that they do that might throw us off.
Is it more about, especially early on in the year, about in non-conference play, perfecting what you do well, as opposed to, we got to react, we got to change our whole game plan to what so-and-so is going to do? Is it more about right now you just want to get good at what Towson's going to be good at?
Exactly, yes. So we want to rebound and run. So with that being our identity, sometimes it might look ugly. Sometimes we might throw the ball over, but that is how we're going to do, and we feel like we can outlast people with that, So we are totally working on our strengths right now.
And then after St. Francis, quick trip to UMES down the shore. 1-2 win over Washington College. They'll play twice, Wagner and Drexel, before you see them. But before you get to UMES and obviously going into St. Francis, at times with Longwood, especially early on, it looked like the pace. John Wooden used to say, be quick but don't hurry. It looked like there was times maybe we were hurrying a little bit up the court and the ball was kind of like, I'm back here still.
Of course.
Was that nerves, you think? Was that excitement? How do you kind of tone it down? Like, okay, we got to be fast, but we got to know, you said it, controlled chaos.
Controlled chaos, exactly. And I think it still was game one, home opener. And I think they know the pace we want to play, but still having some semblance of a control. So I think we'll get better as the games go. And, I'm very familiar with Eastern Shore. It's the last game we lost at Coppin. They actually beat us twice last year. So I am very familiar with that gym, with them. Their pace is also going to be something like ours. They want to run and get out, so it should be a fun game as well.
Two players who started the game for you, and I'm sure if we asked them, they would say they didn't have the best night. Sky Williams, Ryan Evans. What did you think about the way they played? I mean, obviously two older leaders for your team. We're going to expect things from the two of them. What did you think about them, and what's the key for them for rebounding?
Of course. I think that the most amazing thing about Ryan to start is that she's always going to be a part of the piece. And, she brings energy when needed. In the third quarter, I think she had a couple buckets right when we needed them. And she's our captain. She's going to be just fine. And we want to run. Both of them love playing in transition. So they will definitely bounce back this weekend.
And then on the horizon is a trip to Florida for the Fort Myers tip-off. Playing Pitt, playing DePaul, playing a school, Maryland. I think some of us are familiar with that school.
What school is that?
What's that experience like? I mean, obviously 3 programs that are well known, and Towson has a chance to go make some noise and take on some top tier competition. Teams are ranked. What's that experience going to be like for them, and what do you want them to get out of that? And obviously, I mean, the goal is to win. But what are you looking forward to that trip and getting to test yourselves against them?
One, I'm looking forward to the experience, traveling with this team versus top-tiered BCS caliber programs where we're going to position ourselves to win every single game. So that's the first thing I'm most excited for. I think the challenge now is just keeping them focused for the St. Francis and keeping them focused for Eastern Shore and understanding every game is one game at a time. But 3 games in 3 days, we're also going to compare that to what it's going to be like in our CAA tournament. So it's tournament style, we're locked in, and I'm excited.
All right. Tigers take on St. Francis on November 19th, and then on the 22nd, they will head to UMES. For the head coach, Laura Harper, I'm Ben Rosenbaum. Thank you for joining us, and as always, go Tigers.